So this may not be like the most blackety black topic I've covered so far, but the stock market has been putting up crazy numbers in 2020 and in 2021, and for the past 200 odd years, the stock market has been one of the strongest tools for creating generational wealth. What started off as a very exclusive economic opportunity is now literally at your fingertips. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this, as you know, is Black Study Snacks. We give y'all bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Let's get snacking.
Black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything black.
So let's start off by going back, way back in time. I'm sorry, but we are going to start in 1620 when the Pilgrims landed in America. And of course, they were not the only folks here. There were plenty of indigenous and native tribes already in the Americas. So to protect themselves, the Pilgrims built a wall. And this was the... Does that sound a little familiar? It does, but let me get back to it. The wall was the beginning of Wall Street. 100 years later, after it was a little bit more safe in the colonies, the wall was brought down, but it was still an economic center, an economic boom for the colonies. So this is where if you had hats, you can sell your hats. If you had, glasses, you can sell your glasses. It was basically like the first farmers market or flea market in America. Unfortunately, this is also where some of my ancestors and slaves or kings, queens, engineers, doctors, lawyers, medicine men from Africa were forced to be slaves in the Americas, and they were sold and auctioned off on this same Wall Street strip. So yes, I am a firm believer of reparations. Now, first off, if you have a local corn man and you also live in Los Angeles, shout out to you. Go ahead and get your corn, Parmesan cheese, a little bit of butter. If you want mayo, get your mayo. I don't do it myself. But because it was so open market at the Wall Street, the original Wall Street, anyone can really walk up and do business. There's a group of 24 men that kind of wanted their own pie. They didn't want to share pieces of the pie. They wanted to create their own pie. And they met under this tree and they formed a contract. This contract was called the Buttonwood Agreement because they met under a buttonwood tree. And what this said was all 24 men would only buy and sell stocks to each other, and outside they would charge a 0.25 commission fee. They went inside a local coffee house. 2 times a day they would go ahead and do auctions and stocks internally, and as an investor, if I wanted to do business, I needed to give my money to these men. This was the birth in 1792 of the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Black Study Snacks, where we give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Make sure you keep on snacking. Peace.
Black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything black. Black chucks.
Now, some things that I obviously find interesting about the birth of Wall Street or New York Stock Exchange. And some of it I kind of knew, but some of it I didn't. Like the fact that Wall Street really begun as a literal wall. And I know for folks living in this time, like the construction of walls is a sensitive topic and it's very a modern idea. But it's interesting that, the Pilgrims created a wall to keep out the native and indigenous populations from technically their own land. Interesting stuff. I also find it interesting that Wall Street started as a open market, right? Literally anyone who had stocks, who had something to sell, could go to Wall Street. You can go to the farmer's market, you can go to the local mall, wherever you do your commerce, and sell their goods. I find like that was interesting because obviously today it's very kind of tight knit. And then the third thing that I found extremely interesting was the fact that these 24 folks really got together and just monopolized the market. It's the power of the collective. Right? If you can get 20 people that you can get together and say, hey, we're only going to buy water from each other. We're only going to do business with each other. If all 24 of those people each have their own business, and I only buy board games from Devon, I only buy glasses from Focus and Frame, I only buy hats from Dianu, I only buy my sweatsuits from Rare X. Like if this closed loop economy is created, imagine what you, your family, and your community could build. Wall Street became a powerful vehicle of creating wealth by using group economics. Now, anyone in America can now invest inside of corporations to help them scale and grow quicker. But where there are mergers, acquisitions, and opportunities to invest in the future, there's also opportunities for corruption. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this is Black Study Snacks, where we give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Let's get snacking.
Magic, black excellence, black habits, this black medicine.
All right, so first I want to break down just like the basics of a company kind of going public. So let's say Play Black Wall Street has 100 shares in their company, right? And let's say each share is worth $100. That's $10,000. Play Black Wall Street owns 100%. We can sell 50% of these shares to the public. So we're now raising $5,000 in equity from either corporate sponsors or individuals. That at a basic level is what the stock market is. It's companies with millions of shares, tens of millions of shares, and they're selling them for $1, $2, $3, 25 cents each to the public. The public then buy those stocks, and now as the company, I have access to these funds. So now I can buy additional assets, I can hire employees, I can do different things to then replicate or duplicate my earnings and then pay out money in dividends to the folks that own stocks. Or hopefully the business is doing well, the stock is now worth $10, $100, $1,000 per share, and they can sell the stock to someone else to also make money. So y'all know I'm a people person, so I'm gonna go through 3 different individuals that use the stock market a little bit differently. First, I'm gonna go with Jay Gould, and this was the first like devil of Wall Street. And what he did was very slick, and today would be illegal. All right, let's be clear. What he did back then is illegal now. But he would go to a group of small investors and he would borrow stocks from them. He would borrow 100 shares of Play Black Wall Street. He would then go to the stock market and sell these 100 shares to people who wanted the shares, right? First, let's say $5 per share, so $500. He would then use the newspaper that he owned to say bad things about Play Black Wall Street. It's a terrible company. It's black owned. The game is so fun. It makes you play with your family for 2 hours. Say all these terrible things, and the stock would go down. So now instead of $5 per share, maybe it's worth $2 per share. So that same 100 shares that he just sold for $500, he would buy back those 100 shares because the price went down due to the news and the media for $200. So he has a $300 net profit. He would then go back to his investors who he borrowed 100 shares from and give them their shares back. So he now made $300 just by kind of arbitrage, but also using his asset of the newspaper to influence the influencers and the folks that are buying the stocks. Is this still happening today? What do you think? Up next, we're covering woman investor beyond her time, the first woman millionaire in America, Hetty Green. And how she made her millions specifically was investing in the stock market, but even more specifically, she made over $100 million investing in railroad stock. So we said before, the stock market is kind of like investing in the future. You're investing in infrastructure. And back then, you know, not internet, telephone, railroads, bridges, aqueducts, like all that stuff needed to be built to create what we see as America today. And the railroad really connected the East Coast to the South and to the West Coast and allowed for transportation of people and goods. So there's a lot of money to be made. And Hetty Green invested and got a return of $100 million, which today would be equivalent of about $2 billion worth of stocks. Shout out to Hetty Green. Last but certainly not least, we have the king of acquisitions and mergers himself, JP Morgan. He's very well known for doing this with the railroad industry. And let me rewind in case you don't know what a merger and acquisition is. Let's say there's Play Black Wall Street and another really great gaming company called Fanfoolery. And let's say we wanted to join forces. No, this is not happening, but got a lot of love and respect for Fanfoolery. Let's say we wanted to join forces. This would be a merger. So now we would create one company called FamPlay, all right? Which doesn't sound too bad, Rachel. I'm just saying it's a good ring to it. But that's a merger. An acquisition would be, let's say Fanfoolery was like, man, Play Black Wall Street, we really like what y'all are doing. We want to buy you. So we have 100 shares of stocks worth $100 each. That's $10,000. So Fanfoolery as a corporation would need to pay $10,000 to now acquire the assets of Play Black Wall Street. In a nutshell, that's mergers and acquisitions. And JP Morgan back in his day, late 1800s, early 1900s, was the king of this move. And what he did was he bought a whole bunch of different railroads and merged them, right? He acquired them first, and then he merged them into one corporation. And what this did was it allowed him to set the rates, right? If you need to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast and there's only 3 airlines or there's only 2 railroads and the same owner owns all of them, they can set whatever price they want. So you're almost creating a monopoly. JP Morgan also did this with the steel industry and created the first ever $1 billion corporation called US Steel.
Magic, black excellence, black habits, this black medicine, everything black chucks.
Now you may be still wondering, Devon, when are we going to get to the importance of this to the black folks? Don't worry, I got you. In the next video, we're going to talk about generational wealth. JP Morgan is still an entity and an institution today from the moves that JP Morgan made 100 years ago. Merrill Lynch is still an organization, financial organization today from moves made 100 years ago. So we're going through the importance of the stock market and more importantly, the importance of you getting in the game somehow, some way, investing your funds or at least understanding how the wealth is being built. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Black Study Snacks. And of course, make sure you keep on snacking. It is estimated that the average net worth of an African American is $17,000, while the average net worth of a white American is $170,000. We need to make sure we are using the vehicles of generational wealth to put our community ahead. It is also projected that by 2053, the median black family wealth will be 0. I say, not on our watch. My name is Devon Travell, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and this is Black Study Snacks, where we give you bite-sized knowledge for hungry, melanated minds. Let's get snacking.
Black excellence, black habits, this black medicine.
So I heard this 2053 stat back in 2016 when Andrew Yang was running for president. He was on the Breakfast Club. Some of y'all may have watched that episode. If you haven't, go on back. It was good stuff. But in that episode, in that interview, he said the median net worth by 2053 for the black population in America will be 0. And what that means is median is the number in the middle. So if you line up all of the incomes of all the black folks in America, the middle will be 0. Which that doesn't sound that bad when you think about it, but when you think of the millions of people, the millions of black folks that are in America, that's a whole lot of zeros. So that's one of the reasons why we created Black Wall Street, the board game, was to have some small piece, a small tool that every family can have to generate financial literacy and just learn that they can own a piece of this pie. But the stock market is a complete other way of creating generational wealth. So I want to go through 2 slight exercises, and I am going to read a little bit from the screen because I want to make sure I get these numbers correctly. So starting today, right? So it's 2021, 2053 is 32 years from now. So we still have a lot of things that we can do business-wise, buying real estate, entrepreneurship. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. But at a minimum, let's say you just decide to invest in the stock market. And when I say invest in the stock market right now, I'm talking about index funds, like buying the S&P 500, buying Dow Jones, like buying index funds that are passive investments for you and your family. No, this is not a investment strategy video. No, you do not need to take this investment advice. This is this knowledge. You can take it or you can leave it. Y'all know we got to say that so no one comes for us. But if you invested $100 per month, that's less than $4 per day for the next 32 years, you would have $136,000 collected. Only $38,000 would be your own money. The other $100,000 is literally interest being paid to you because of your investment. If all Black families do that one action right there, we can undo this 2053 projection. If every Black family, I'm not even talking about every Black person, but every unit, right? 2 or more folks just pull their money together and create an index fund or create an LLC to invest in an index fund for the next 32 years, $100 a month, less than $4 a day. Boom, that family would have $136,000 of capital to then go out, start a business, buy a house, buy some land, whatever it is. But let's say, Devon, that's not enough. We want the big bucks, Devon. All right, slow your roll. We got you. So if you want to be in the big bucks category, you can invest $800 per month. That's less than $30 per day. That's maybe 2 meals, right? If you're a married couple, maybe it's just 1 meal. If you do that, by the end of 32 years, you will have $1 million in that account. Only 300,000 of those dollars will be your own that you contributed, and 700,000 would be interest paid to you for your investments. Boom. Right there, $800 a month for 32 years, your family just created millionaires, right? So the stock market has been in existence since 1792. How many of those years do you think the Black community or other minority groups had open access to it? Right? When you even think of the inception of Wall Street, it started with a wall keeping out the indigenous population, which was Black and brown. So from inception, Wall Street has been pushing certain communities out. But right now, with this device right here, you have access to Wall Street like never before, right? Whether it's Robinhood, Ameritrade, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and this is not an endorsement of any of those. If we want to undo the 2053 prophecy or projection, we need to start using the tools that have been working for the past 300 years. And one of those tools is definitely the stock market. Again, it started in 1792, and the first Black stock, Johnson Corporation, didn't get listed until 1971. All right, what's the years on that? It's 200 years? That 20 years? 200 years of companies in our community not being able to utilize the group economics of the most powerful system in finances in the world. So it's up to us now. It's up to our generation. It's up to the folks watching this video to get involved somehow, some way, whether it's starting your business, owning your house, making sure you have a trust and a will set up, investing in the stock market. However you can start creating wealth and passing down wealth to the next generation, it would be helpful. Thank you for tuning in to this week's installment of Black Study Snacks, and make sure you keep on snacking. Peace.
Black excellence, Black habits, this Black medicine, everything Black.
All right, recap, y'all know how we do as usual. Definitely interested to know, what extra books, resources y'all have on the stock market. Feel free to go ahead and leave a comment. But I'm gonna go over just 3 key points that I take away. And yeah, hopefully you were able to take away tons of nuggets from this and take action on this. Again, we will leave our Robinhood account link. If you use it, we do get some stock, you get some stock, so it's a good little win-win for us. So we definitely appreciate anyone. Click the link and get your free stock. But number 1, the stock market is an incredible tool for creating wealth and generational wealth. Right, we went through the projections. Hopefully this isn't the first video you're watching. If you're not, go ahead and go back to the projections. But if you just invest $100 a month for 32 years, you would make $136,000. If you invested $800 per month for 32 years, you would have $1 million. And I know sometimes I want $1 million tomorrow. I want $1 million next year. I don't want it 30 years from now. But delayed gratification is the name of the game. Building generational wealth isn't about me, right? It isn't about you. It's about the person that's gonna come after you, right? I don't even have kids yet. So if I start investing 32 years from now and that $1 million gets entrusted or gets willed, gets passed down to my son, my daughter when they're 18, when they're 20, when they're 32, but now they're a millionaire without having to even work for it. And that's what a lot of other communities have been doing, and that's what we need to make sure we ingrain inside of our culture. Number 2 is from inception, the stock market was an exclusive community, right? So the wall to keep out the indigenous and native community, the Buttonwood Agreement inside of a coffee house to keep out the public, it's been exclusive until now. There are tons of apps that you can be using, and there are tons of educational resources. EYL, Earn Your Leisure. They have Market Mondays, right? Every Monday they come on and they teach us about stocks. We have Derek Grace teaching people about stocks. We have 19 Keys teaching people about stocks. We have obviously Play Black Wall Street teaching folks about financial literacy. There are tons of avenues for you to be learning about stocks. Please make sure you keep on snacking, get your full meals in when you have to, but you need to keep getting this education. And last but not least, number 3, the stock market is about investing in the future infrastructure, right? So before there were railroads, right, people were going around in carriages and walking places. So if you wanted to travel from New York to Louisiana, it took you a long time. So people started building railroads to speed up transportation, and through the stock market you were able to invest in that future infrastructure. Same thing happened with planes. You were able to invest in planes. Same thing happened with or it's going to happen with hyperloops. Same thing is happening right now with people going to outer space and investing in SpaceX and Blue Horizon. With every new wave of technology, and to create a future that we want, there needs to be businesses that will create that future. So I urge you to figure out in 20 years, what do I think society will look like, right? What does education look like? What do cars look like? What do homes look like? What does fashion look like? And then see what companies right now are trying to create the future that you believe in. Those are the stocks that you should maybe invest in for the long term. And those are also hopefully the types of mutual funds that you should also be investing in. There are healthcare funds, there are technology funds, real estate or REITs funds. So think about things that you are passionate about and what aligns with your long-term vision, and then see how you can invest in that vision. So hopefully you learned a little bit. I appreciate y'all, and as usual, make sure you keep on snacking.
Put 'em up for black magic, black excellence,